Hey, so I got a quick video today. I'm going to be showing you how to export and import stems from your project so that you can collaborate with your buddies and make some sick bangers. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a folder where you're going to save all your stems, drum and bass whip, and I like to put the BPM and the key of the song in the folder name. So 174 BPM, F major. And inside the project folder, we're going to create some more folders, one for stems. If you want to be super high speed, you can export the MIDI. And I want to export the sidechain automation so that you can easily just throw that into the new project whenever you're importing the stems into a new project. Sidechain automation. Okay, and then inside the stems, I'm gonna sort them by drums and percussion, bass and synths, and I'm gonna do an effects folder. All right, so now that we've got all of our folders created, let's go ahead and export all of the things that we need. So whenever I'm exporting my stems, I have these bus channels where mostly the most important one is this sidechain channel where I route every sound basically that's not the kick and the snare. I route it into this sidechain channel, and then I automate the volume to duck the kick and the snare. So as you can see from these little strings, almost everything is routed to this channel. I don't want to just export the sidechain channel. I'm wanting to export all of the elements of the song so that the person that I'm sending the stems to can manipulate and mess with all of the elements of the song individually to do whatever they want to do with it, right? So whenever I export my stems, I'm actually going to delete that sidechain channel. So what I'm going to do to make life easier for the person who's going to be importing these stems into their new project is I'm going to go ahead and consolidate all of my sidechain automation into one automation clip. So you're going to want to go ahead and delete any automation clips that you have muted because the consolidation process is going to consolidate all of the automation clips, even the muted ones. So you don't want those muted ones to be part of the consolidated clip. All right. Now I'm going to highlight all of my automation clips for my sidechain, and I'm going to go to this drop-down menu. I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to merge automation clips. And that's going to create this one solid automation clip out of all of my automation clips. So now I'm going to double click on this new merged automation clip, and then I'm going to save channel state as, right? So it's going to give you this pop-up menu, and then I'm going to go to my folder where I'm going to have my stems, okay? And then I'm going to go into my sidechain automation folder, and I'm just going to name this file sidechain automation. Okay, so now I've got my sidechain automation saved so that they can just throw that into their new project. I'm going to go ahead and export these stems now. So you can push Control R to quickly pull up the export menu options. So I'm just going to go to the stem folder, and then we're going to sort it by the different types of stems after I've exported it. So here we are. I'm just going to keep it named that and then push save. And then you're going to get this option right here. All of your default options should be good except for this. By default, this option, split mixer tracks, is going to be unchecked. You want to check that. And what that's going to do is that's going to export every single one of your mixer channels as a separate audio file. So that's the main thing that you want to look for, and then push start. Okay, so now all of our stems have been exported. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is, as you can tell, the song title is in front of each one of the stems that we exported. And I want to go ahead and get rid of that because whenever I pull these stems into a new project, I don't want the song title in front of each one of the stems, right? So I'm just going to show you a quick little shortcut to go ahead and get rid of the song title in front of each one of the stems. So you're going to want to go into the title of one of the stems, and you're going to want to highlight the part that you want to get rid of in each one of the stems. And I've already actually done that. And then you have this little piece of code right here that you're going to enter into the PowerShell window. I'll paste this into the description so you can just copy and paste it and use it in your own exported stems. But you're basically going to want to put the song title right here in this area, in these first quotation marks right here. And basically, what this is telling your computer to do is to go through every file in this folder, and whatever file has this song title, whatever you put in between these quotation marks, it's going to delete that essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And then you're going to want to click away, like over here towards the right. You don't want any one of these files to be highlighted. You're going to want to click off of all of the files and then hold down Shift and right click. And you're going to get this open PowerShell window option. And then whenever this pops up, you're just going to paste your PowerShell command in there and push enter. And then it's going to get rid of the song title in front of all of your stems, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted. Now we're going to separate these by category, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of the drums and put them in the drums folder. Okay, now what's left over is just the extra tracks that you're not really going to need to send whoever you're sending these stems to. So I've got my sidechain bus that I don't need to send. I've got the master. You could send them the master track just for reference, but they may want to mess around with some of their own mastering. So I'm just not even going to give them the master track. And you've got this metronome track. You don't need any of that. I'm just going to delete these. So now you've got all of the stems separated by categories, which is going to make the person receiving these stems life a lot easier, right? So want to try and make things easy for everybody. So now we have the stem audio, the stems. We've got the sidechain automation. Now, if we want to take things, one step further and make things even easier for the person receiving these, we can go ahead and export the MIDI. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need to go to your project, and you've got these macros under the tool option. So you go up here to the top left, you go down to tools, you go to macros, and you've got prepare for MIDI export. You're going to go ahead and click on that, and you're going to get this pop-up window that says, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're not going to be able to undo these changes once it happens. So basically, just remember not to save your project after you click this option. So we're going to click OK. You're going to let it do its thing. And basically what that did was it basically made changes to all of your generators that had MIDI attached to them, right? And prepared them for export. So we're going to go ahead and go to File, Export, and then we're going to export as a MIDI file this time. And then we're going to go to our folder, go to our MIDI folder, and we can go ahead and uncheck this split mixer track option. We don't need that anymore, and push Start. Okay, so now we've got our MIDI exported into our little folder system we got going on here. Now, that's basically it. Now, what you could do now is you could go ahead and select this folder and you can zip it up and send it to whoever it is that you're wanting to send it to. Now, let's say I'm the person that just received this folder and I want to import these into a brand new project and start working on them from scratch. So the first thing I'm going to do is import the stems, and let's go ahead and start with the drums. So I'm going to highlight all of these and I'm going to open up a brand new project. All right, so if you drag an audio file onto an empty track in the playlist in FL Studio and you select to import it as an audio track, then what it'll do is it'll automatically rename the track in the playlist and color it, and it'll also automatically route it to the mixer, an empty mixer track, and color it and name that as well. So we want to do that whenever we export these because that's going to save us a lot of time. Just make sure to click this audio track option. All right, and as you can see, we've got them all imported right here, all of our stems, and we've got them imported into the mixer as well. Now, if you're like OCD like me, and you like everything to be color-coded and organized in a specific way, I'm just going to show you a couple quick tips to get that done in the quickest way that I know how, and that's going to be to group everything in the playlist. And this is why I separate it by drums and basses and effects, because I like to have different colors for each one of those, right? So you're going to color the first one. And then there's this option, if you right click the colored one, to auto color group. And then everything that's grouped under that track is going to be colored, right? So that was pretty easy and pretty quick. But now the audio tracks themselves, the audio clips are not colored. So a quick way to do that is you can go into here and you can just highlight all of them and go down to this drop down menu, go to color, go to gradient, and then click green. And then that colors the first one. And then you go to last and you just click the same color. And then now all of the audio clips are colored. So we're going to do the same thing for the basses and for the effects. And actually what I'm doing right there to group these is I'm right clicking and I'm pushing G. That's the shortcut for grouping. You can just right click and push G and it'll group it with the track above it. Okay, so now we've got all of our stems imported into our new project, colored, organized, and routed to the mixer. So that's great. So now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create a new sidechain bus track for this track because currently none of this is being sidechained. So that's pretty important. So what we're going to want to do is route basically everything that's not the kick and the snare to a sidechain channel, sidechain track. So we're going to create this sidechain mixer track. We're going to add a gain plugin, Fruity Balance, and everything that's not the kick and the snare, we're going to highlight. All right, and then we're going to right click on this little upwards arrow right here, and then we're going to choose a route to this track only. So it's going to route all of these only to this track. All right, and then we're just going to highlight a little section right here. We're going to go to our Fruity Balance under the sidechain bus track, and we're going to create an automation clip. Okay, here we go. Here's our automation clip, and we're just going to create a sidechain track on the playlist. And then we're going to minimize. We're going to go to our sidechain automation, and we're just going to drag that right over our little automation clip right there. And that is going to give us the automation that we saved from our original track. All right, and now we're going to line up the sidechain automation to the first kick. And of course, don't forget to change the BPM to the correct BPM, right? So we're working at 174. So let's go ahead and bring our sidechain automation clip right here. And it should be sidechained now. Let's listen to it. All right, that's sounding good and sidechained. So now the last thing that we can do is we can import the MIDI from the original track. And since we have audio stems, we don't really need the MIDI, but let's say I just received these and I'm curious what chord progression he's doing. I can't tell what the chord progression is really based on the audio track. So what I could do is I could import this MIDI just for analysis purposes, just to see what the chord progression is. And then I can also, assign a new plugin to that MIDI to add extra layers onto what's already composed, or, I can do whatever I want. Whenever I have the MIDI, I can do whatever I want with it. It just makes life easier. So we can go ahead and go to File up here, and we can click Import MIDI File. And then I guess you can save it right there if you want. I'm not going to, but we have our MIDI right here. We just open up that MIDI file, and then you're going to get this pop-up window. And it's going to say which channels to import. I mean, you're probably going to want to import all of the channels, right? But you're probably not going to want to start a new project. So I'm going to unclick that. You want it to import the time signature. That's cool. You definitely want it to create one channel per track. That's really important that that is highlighted. And since we've already got the audio and we're really just using this MIDI for analysis purposes, I'm going to uncheck the set mixer tracks for new channels because we don't want to automatically route these to new mixer tracks. We're just looking at them to analyze what the chord progressions are. But that's an option. If you want to route this MIDI to its own mixer tracks, you can do that. But I'm not going to do that. All right, and then you push accept. Okay, and here's all of our MIDI from our exported song, right? And then if we pull up the playlist and we go to our picker, see, but we've only got one MIDI channel. You know, what's up with that? If you right click on it and you split by channel, there you go. There's all your MIDI for the entire song. So you can go ahead and highlight all of that and you can drag it right in here into the playlist. And then there's all the MIDI for the song, right? So if you want to see what was the chord progression for the super saw chords right here, right? Like you have it right here. You just double click on it and then there you go. There's the chord progression that was used. Now, if I actually play this, there's no plugin assigned to this MIDI right now. So it's just going to play a piano sound. But if you wanted to change this from a piano sound to whatever, then you can just right click and you can go to replace. And then you can add whatever synth you want. Like if you wanted Serum, you can just add Serum or Vital or whatever it is. But by default, it's just going to play a piano. See what I mean? But now, since you have the MIDI, you know exactly in the song where that MIDI was played in the original track, and you know like what the chord progression is. So you've got that option if you want it. And it's just another way to make the person receiving these stems, it's just another way to make their life easier, essentially, right? And that's about it. Whenever it comes down to exporting and importing project files and stems, this is basically everything that I do. And from this point, I could just go ahead and get started on, you know, writing down my ideas and, you know, what I would want to add to this track. And then I would do the same thing. You know, once I was finished and I hit a point to where I want to send it back to the person I'm collaborating with, I would do all of these same steps all over again. You know, and I might only just export the additional things that I did, or I might export the entire thing again just so they can drag the whole project into there. It's up to you and the person that you're collaborating with, and y'all can kind of come to an agreement on how you want to exchange stems to make everybody's life easier.